How many times have you promised yourself that this time things would be different? I'll start on Monday. I'll wake up earlier tomorrow. This time I'll finish what I started. I'm going to organize my home. I'm going to take care of my health. I'm going to stop wasting time on my phone. I'm finally going to do that thing I've been putting off for months. And then a few days go by. Fatigue sets in. The daily grind tightens its grip. Something gets thrown off track, and you end up right back where you started. In that moment, you might conclude, I need more discipline. But what if that isn't your real problem? What if you're trying to solve something with willpower that actually needs to be handled differently? Because there's a part of this story that almost no one notices. Maybe you don't need to be harder on yourself. Maybe you just need to make your life a little easier to manage. And that's what you're going to understand today. And if you've ever beaten yourself up for not being able to stick to a routine, please hit the like button on this video. That way, I'll know this is a topic that resonates with you. You can be a responsible person and still procrastinate. You can want to change badly and still abandon a routine. You can know exactly what needs to be done and yet keep putting it off. That doesn't automatically mean you're lazy. Sometimes you're simply trying to do too much with a tired mind. Imagine someone coming home after a packed day. There are dishes in the sink, messages to answer, laundry to put away, a bill to pay, an important decision to make, a phone buzzing, and then there's that promise. Today, I'm going to start exercising. The person looks at all of this and thinks, why can't I just do it? Maybe because the problem isn't a lack of discipline, maybe it's an excess of mental weight. Think of your mind as a table. When there are only 2 or 3 things on it, you can see each one clearly. But lay out 20 sheets of paper, a mug, bills, keys, documents, a charger, an open notebook. Now ask someone to find a small slip of paper amidst all that. It got harder. Your attention works in a similar way. When you try to remember 10 things at once, make 10 decisions, and solve 10 problems, even a simple task can feel overwhelming. And do you know what happens next? You look for relief. You check your phone. You watch something. You switch to a less important task. You start tidying up something that didn't even need tidying at that moment. And at the end of the day, you think, I lack discipline. But notice the difference. You didn't just sit there doing nothing. You simply avoided what seemed too heavy to tackle at the start. Here is the first concept. You don't need to boost your discipline before cutting down on the clutter. When everything seems important, your mind has to make constant choices, and making decisions is exhausting. That's why a huge to-do list can create a strange sensation. You look at it to get organized, but end up feeling even more lost. So do one thing right now. Don't create a list of 20 items. Grab a piece of paper or open the Notes app on your phone and answer this. What is the one thing that, if I do it today, will make the day feel a little better? Let me know in the comments. Just one thing. Maybe it's paying a bill, taking a 10-minute walk, answering an important message, tidying up your desk, preparing something for tomorrow. Don't choose the perfect task. Choose the next task. That small decision lifts some of the weight off your mind. But there's another part to this story. Because even when you know what needs to be done, you still might not start. And that raises a question. Why do some simple tasks seem so hard before we even begin? Imagine a swimming pool on a cold day. You know that once you get in, you'll probably get used to it. But you stand at the edge thinking. You dip a toe in, pull it back, wait, think a bit more. The longer you stand there, the more daunting the act of getting in seems. The exact same thing happens with many tasks. The heaviest part is the beginning, not necessarily the activity as a whole. You think, I need to exercise. And your mind pictures workout clothes, sneakers, the workout itself, fatigue, showering, the time involved. You think, I need to tidy up the house, and you immediately visualize every room. You think, I need to study, and you imagine sitting there for 2 hours. The task grows in your mind before you've even started. So, here is the second concept. Stop trying to finish before you've learned how to start. Your brain tends to avoid effort when an easier, more pleasant option is available. There is nothing mysterious about this. If you have a tiring task on one side and a phone full of new content, videos, and messages on the other, you've created a very uneven contest. The solution isn't to keep repeating, "I need to be strong." The solution is to shorten the distance between you and the right action. Want to go for a walk tomorrow? Leave your sneakers out where you can see them today. Want to drink more water? Keep a bottle close by. Want to read? Put the book where you usually sit. Want to stop reaching for your phone the moment you wake up? Don't leave the device next to your pillow. See? You're changing the path. If this resonates with you, please leave a like. It helps this message reach others who might be hard on themselves over a problem that can be solved in a simpler way. Now, take a micro-action. Pick something you've been putting off and scale that task down until it seems almost too small. Not, "I'm going to exercise for an hour," but, "I'm going to put on my sneakers and walk for 5 minutes." Not, "I'm going to get my finances in order," but, "I'm going to open my account and look at my expenses." Not, "I'm going to clean the whole house," but, "I'm going to tidy up this table." Not, "I'm going to study for 2 hours," but, "I'm going to open the materials and study for 10 minutes. A small action is like pushing open a stuck door. The initial movement usually requires the most effort. Once it starts to open, keeping it moving becomes easier. And here's something interesting. Often, you don't need to feel like doing something to get started. The motivation might come after you begin. But now, we come to the most important part. Because you might be thinking, "Okay, I'll choose fewer things and start small, but how do I keep it up?" Have you ever tried? And that question changes everything. Because many people believe that discipline means never failing. Waking up on time every day, always working out, always eating well, always being productive, never procrastinating, never losing momentum. But that expectation creates a trap. You do everything right for 5 days. On the 6th, something happens. You sleep poorly. Your child needs you. Work gets hectic. You get sick. A worry pops up. You don't stick to your routine. And then you think, "I've ruined everything." The next day you do less. Then you give up. Do you see the problem? It wasn't a bad day that destroyed your routine. It was the idea that a bad day meant failure. Now comes the part that can completely change how you view discipline. Perhaps your greatest skill isn't maintaining momentum. Perhaps it's knowing how to get back on track. Think of someone driving down a road. If that person misses a turn, they don't abandon the car and say, "It's over, I'll never reach the destination." They look for a way to turn around. But with our habits, we do something strange. We miss a workout and write off the whole week. We spend more than we should in one day and stop tracking our money. We eat something unplanned and think, "Well, that's that." We wake up late and treat the entire day as a loss. One mistake becomes permission for another, and then another, until what was a small detour turns into total abandonment. That's why the third concept is the most important. Create a minimal version of your routine for difficult days. You need a plan for when you're feeling good, but you also need a plan for when you're tired. If you usually walk for 30 minutes, your minimum might be 5. If you usually read 10 pages, your minimum might be 1. If you typically tidy up the house for 20 minutes, your minimum might be putting away 5 items. If you're trying to save money, perhaps your minimum is simply avoiding an impulse purchase that day. It seems small, and that's exactly the point. The minimum isn't there to produce huge results. It exists to keep the bridge open between you and the habit. Do this now. Choose a habit you want to maintain, and complete this sentence. On my hard days, I can still... I can still walk for 5 minutes. I can still put away 5 items. I can still read 1 page. I can still prepare a simple meal. I can still manage to write 3 lines. This might be the most important practice in this video, because you stop building a routine that only works when your life is perfect, and you start building a routine capable of surviving real life. Now, notice how everything starts to connect. First, you reduce the clutter, then you scale down the starting point, and finally, you learn how to get back on track when things go off course. This is very different from living your life trying to manufacture willpower all the time. You might have spent years saying, "I need to have more self-control," when perhaps the right question was, "How can I make the next choice easier?" This shift seems small, but it changes the way you organize your day. You don't need to control everything. You just need to control the first move. Want to spend less time on your phone? Start by keeping the device away for 10 minutes. Want to manage your money better? Before buying something, wait a few minutes and ask yourself if it's really necessary. Want a more organized home? Don't wait until you feel like doing a major cleanup. Put something away as soon as you finish using it. Want to study? Don't wait for a 2-hour block of free time. Start with just 10 minutes. That's how you reduce your reliance on motivation. Because motivation changes, your mood changes, your energy changes, your week changes. Some days are light and easy, others seem to start out heavy before you even get out of bed. That's why a smart routine can't depend solely on you being at your best. It needs to work on a tiring Tuesday too, on a hectic day, on a day when you aren't feeling inspired. And there is a huge difference between saying, "I need to do everything," and saying, "I just need to make the next move." Stop. Look at your day. What is that move? You might be trying to change 5 areas of your life at once. You don't have to. Pick one. You might be waiting to feel confident. You don't need to. Start small. Maybe you slipped up yesterday. That's okay. Today offers a chance to get back on track. So keep these 3 ideas in mind. First, less clutter. Choose what truly needs your attention right now. Second, less resistance. Make the start small and easy. Third, more bouncing back. Stop demanding a perfect streak and learn to restart quickly. These 3 things are part of the same logic. You aren't trying to turn yourself into a disciplined machine. You are trying to create better conditions to keep doing what matters. And perhaps that is exactly what was missing. No more pressure, no more massive promises, no more waiting for the perfect Monday. Just a clear choice, a small start, and the ability to get back to it. Now, I'd like to propose a simple commitment. If you realize you've been waiting for discipline to kick in before starting, write this in the comments. I'm starting small, but I'm starting today. Don't just write it as a nice-sounding phrase. Pick one small action and do it after watching this video. There may be people around you quietly facing this same struggle. Share this video with someone who is always saying they need more willpower. Sometimes that person doesn't need more pressure. They just need to see the problem from a different perspective. And if you want to keep building a life that is more organized, conscious, and manageable, subscribe to the channel. You don't need to change your entire life tomorrow. You don't need to wake up a completely different person. You don't need to wait for Monday, and you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Choose one thing, scale it down, start. If you go off track tomorrow, get back on, then get back on again. Because a life doesn't usually change in one big moment of discipline. It changes through small movements you can repeat, one choice, then another, and another. What is essential rarely shouts, it whispers. Let the essential whisper the path of transformation in your life. Stay aware. See you in the next video.